Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Technology trust is a good thing, but control is a better one. I warmly welcome you all to the EduScript Session 3 on Cybersecurity organized by the Edvicon International. At the end of the today's session, there will be a quiz. The top 20 scorers will have the opportunity to get Hacktify Cybersecurity Premium course available on Hacktify website. Small reminder, if you have any questions related to the session which you need clarifications from the speaker, please feel free to drop them into the chat. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Nimesh Ekanayaka, the chairperson of Educon International, to welcome you all and introduce the speakers for this webinar. Over to you, Mr. Nimesh Ekanayaka.
Thank you, Hansima. On behalf of Edicon International, I would like to welcome the speakers of the EduScript 21 S3 on cybersecurity, Mr. Rohit Gautam, founder Hacktify Cybersecurity, who is an avid security researcher with special interest in network exploitation, web application security analysis, and Ms. Shifa Saikalwala, founder Hacktify Cybersecurity, who is also a web and mobile application developer with experience in a security field and security training with special interest in social engineering and web security. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the session over to you, Mr. Rohit and Ms. Shiva. The session is yours.
Thank you so much, Nimesh, for the introduction. So we can start with this session without wasting more time. I'll share my screen. Just acknowledge as soon as my screen is visible. Is it?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Thank you so much. Okay. So first of all, welcome everyone. Very good evening. I am Shifa Saikalwala from Hacktify Cybersecurity. Nimesh has already given my introduction, so I'll just move on. I'll like to add one more thing to it. Hacktify Cybersecurity is a training organization. Along with that, we have Hacktify Community. That's an open source community free for everyone. We provide internships as well as trainings under Hacktify community to the students all over the world. So we had around 5,000 interns this time, specifically for cybersecurity. Along with, we have partnered with Virtually Testing Foundation, which is based in US. So I'll skip my introduction. I have Rohit Gautam along with me, who is going to take over the session. As soon as I complete, we are going to share the same presentation. So I'll start with some of the topic and Rohit Gautam will continue and will conclude this session. So before starting and going into the technical details, I would like to share one thought, which is alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. So with this thought in mind, we have started a community and the community is now worldwide and we have a lot of students and professionals connected with us around the globe. So if you wish to be a part of community, you can reach out to any of us, or maybe you can reach out to Nimesh, Umang, anyone from their team, and we can this way collaborate and work together. There's one poem which is so close to my heart, and I feel that you all should follow this when you are starting your journey in cybersecurity or any other domain. So, which says to follow the path, you should look to the master. Follow the master, walk with the master, see through the master, and at the end, become the master. So this is one thing you have to keep in mind. You look for some role models in the industry that you are willing to go into. So this way you will be, I am not saying to become like someone, but then I am trying to say that get inspired with certain amount of people who are doing good in the domain. Try to see that how and what the achievements they have done, what are the mistakes they have done so far, how you can refrain yourself from doing the same mistakes, how you can go through the similar path but in your own way. So this is how you can be in the topmost position into the current domain or into any domain you wish to pursue. So please follow this poem. So why cybersecurity is so important? This is because you know that in this COVID time, a lot of industries had faced a lot of downturns. So many industries have just shut in just a while, but cybersecurity stood so strong. Why? Because you know, a lot of us have shifted from working from office to working from home culture. A lot of transition has been done from sitting office and working to sitting home and working on the infrastructure. So many internal networks are now exposed to the public internet. So for all these reasons, every domain, every other industry now needs a cybersecurity professional. Why? To safeguard themselves from the attacks that can happen on public internet. For internal infrastructure, they did had applications which were not accessible for the outside world, but with the forced culture of working from home has exposed a lot of domains to the public, which has increased a lot of scope for cybersecurity researchers. Those who were there into the market has now got a job. Still, we see a lot of job gap between the cybersecurity professionals that we have right now uh, versus the job openings that we have. So this is a data which is taken from LinkedIn and other sources, which says that in past some days, these many open positions, especially for cybersecurity, has been posted. IT and services required a lot of cybersecurity professionals. Financial services providers have also made a demand for cybersecurity professionals. Computer and software industries has also demanded certain number of cybersecurity professionals. Defense and space, as well as hospital and healthcare. What I'm trying to say here is there is a huge scope of cybersecurity professionals, not only in IT, but into every other sector that you go. Why is this requirement? Why do you think that cybersecurity professionals are required in hospital and healthcare kind of a sector or any other financial services sector? I would like to keep this session interactive. I'll go and look into the chat if you have answer to this question. My question to you is that why do we require different why do we require cyber security professionals in domains other than IT services, software, etc. Okay, if you do not have any answer, or maybe I'm not able to see into the chat any particular answer to this, so I would like to explain you a bit more over here. Why does a hospital require a cybersecurity professional? Let's take a scenario. The scenario is that there is a ransomware attack that has happened on the hospital infrastructure. You know, hospital have the most sensitive data. They have the data about the patients that they are curing. They also have the data about the vaccination, about the medicines dose, everything that they have into their premises. They also have the data about their employees. They also have data about the payments they are supposed to receive from all the patients. They have basically so much of data, what vaccination to be provided to which patient at what time. All these things are stored in the computers of this critical hospital infrastructure. Let's imagine that there is a ransomware attack that has happened on this hospital. So what can happen? So ransomware is a type of software which is going to encrypt all the data that they have into the infrastructure. All the data is now been encrypted. The staff is not able to identify that what is written in the data as everything is encrypted. So let's say there is a patient They know that all the patients require to be vaccinated at certain time slot, and that is too critical because anyone can die. This can be the scenario. So without data, hospital will be helpless and they won't be able to do anything. So this is the reason ransomware creators are now targeting this kind of critical infrastructure so that they can earn the maximum amount they can. So this way, hospitals have themselves started hiring cybersecurity professionals to safeguard themselves, their infrastructure from all the cyber attacks that can possibly happen to their infrastructure. Make sense? So this same goes with the financial organizations, goes with other software defense space kind of organization. Not only one test case, we have thousands of test cases for hiring cyber security professional in all the other domains. So now I hope you understand the scope, the requirement for cyber security in any job market. So this talk is combinedly made from a lot of research which has been done from internet, as well as tools and techniques that are used into this training, and this talk is a part of internet, as well as some addition is a part of our research. So please do not use any information that has been shared during the talk into any other way. This is just for educational purpose. So today's agenda is we will be talking more on web vulnerabilities. We are also going to discuss on bug bounties. So this is the achievements of some of my students who have achieved a lot of Hall of Fames on different organizations. You would be familiar with some of the logos from here. Here is a Government of India newsletter. Again, you can see I have highlighted my students. They have been into the list. This Government of India newsletter has been released every quarter. And every quarter, they release the top 15 bug bounty researcher name into their newsletter. So each time, Hacktify student has been the part of this newsletters quarterly, which has been released. So you can also apply and try your hands on any Government of India website you want. They have very simple process. You can just find out vulnerabilities in any of the .government.in website, and you can send them email. So with email attaching your POC, this way you can send them your report and they are going to acknowledge you. So this is a very important thing. When you have this kind of something on your resume, this is going to add a lot of value to your resume, because you know this is not an easy thing. This is something which can make you stand out of the queue if you are looking to apply somewhere. So always bug bounty hunting, Hall of Fame appreciation letters will always stand out different and will make you different from the long queue. So the chances of getting selected for a particular position will obviously increase. So here are some more bounties from students. I have been talking about bug bounties from long. So what the heck are bug bounties? If you have never heard about this term, so bug bounties is something wherein you find out vulnerabilities sitting at your home, and you try to report those issues to the correct organization. Let's say I am Shifa. I am not employed with Google or Apple, but still, by my research, by hunting on these websites, I came across that, oh, Apple has an issue that is a subdomain takeover. I am able to take over Apple's subdomain. So what I'll do is, instead of misusing that subdomain, I will just make a report and send it to Apple. I'll send this to Apple and I'll say, I have identified a vulnerability that is subdomain takeover, which can lead to this. This will be the impact which I'm going to show them. I can also write the business losses that they can face if this particular vulnerabilities will be misused. So this way I can make a complete report, send it to Apple. Apple is going to say me thank for reporting that valid issue to them, as well as they are going to give me certain amount. That amount, that can be amount, that can be swag, that can be t-shirt or anything. Different companies have different ways of acknowledging a researcher. So that acknowledgement is known as bounty. You send them a bug, you get bounties. Bounties can be anything. So this is exciting and so interesting. A lot of new researchers I have seen have started thinking that bug bounties are easy, free money, which is not a reality. That requires a lot of patience, persistence. You have to keep your learning curve into the increasing order to be able to achieve certain vulnerabilities. Why? Because finding out an issue in Apple is not an easy job. Why? Because Apple has internal security team who is taking care of the security, all the part of the security sitting inside Apple, as well as there are so many researchers in the world who are trying to hunt on that Apple as a bug bounty hunter. If you are able to find out what they have missed, when I say they are the internal team members who are already working on those applications, as well as the other bug bounty hunters. If they all miss out, then you are able to get something. It's not an easy job, but then it's not too difficult. You can get the bounties if you know the right way, the right approach, you have the right methodology, right tools, that how to use it, and this way you can stand out of the queue and you can also earn bounties. I hope this sounds interesting to you. So there are certain rules which I want you to follow before starting into bug bounties. First is choosing the right bug bounty program. This is so important because being a beginner, if you start with Google or Apple, uh, there is only 1% chance that you will get something. You will get a critical bug or something. So choosing a right bug bounty program for beginners, we always recommend go for point only program, swag program. This way you can start and slowly and steadily you can move your targets, and you can also hunt on Apple, Google, Microsoft, etc. Second is recon. Don't DDoS everything with active scans and automated scanners. Doing proper information gathering is so important. When you know the target is using X technology, so craft your payload in such a way which goes with X technology. If you're going to just actively put all the payloads that you know, you will end up getting nothing. So this way, do a proper information gathering and then you can slowly move on to the target. Then we have do not expect for rewards. Yes, even though you are doing bug bounties, I will still suggest that do not expect for rewards in the beginning. Once you are comfortable doing bug bounties, you can obviously expect some good rewards from good organizations. But beginning, do not set your target that okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to earn $1,000 from bug bounties, which is not in your hands. You have to attach your emotions to something that is in your hands. You can attach your emotions to learning something new that's in your hand. You can obviously learn something, some new techniques to do bug bounty hunting better ways. So this way you can start learning. Then you have develop your own flow of approach and methodology. When you develop your own approach and methodology, which is obviously different than others, so this way you will find out and you will come to a exploitation which is not done by others. This way, using your own approach and methodology, you can get easy and quick wins sometimes when you are making your own custom scripts, etc. Then we have surround yourself with the bug bounty community to keep yourself updated. There are so many good researchers who tweet about a lot of good things. There are so many researchers who write super medium blogs. There are researchers who love community and they post on GitHub their new tools, etc. So keep yourself updated about what thing is going on around in the bug bounty hunting community. Then automate everything. If you really want to do good in bug bounties, try to automate maximum of your thing. You can just simply start with any scripting language and try to automate your daily stuff. If you know that daily in the morning when you are going to wake up, you are going to take 10 targets, you are going to find out the subdomains for it, and you are going to run a nuclei scan. So these three things are fixed. So what I am suggesting you, try to write a script which can do, you can obviously add a cron job or something which will automate your work on the daily basis. You don't have to do it manually. You don't have to invest your time manually into it. Things will be done automatically. Then we have make your own checklist. Going with the own method and approach is always the best way. Making your own checklist will make sure that you are not missing any issue when you are testing any target. When you find a bug, try to chain it. When you find out any one bug, try to chain it with the other bugs so that you get the maximum impact. So this is what matters. When it is a maximum impact, your reward money will also increase. Last and the most important thing is mental health is so important. Take breaks and do some leisure. This is so important because I have seen students keeping themselves into the room and doing bug bounties for 7 days, 8 days continuously, which is not good for your health. So take breaks in between and then continue to do bug bounties. So these are some tools which I want you to keep in mind when you start your bug bounty hunting journey. Here are the list of platforms for bug bounties. You can take a screenshot if you want. Bugcrowd, HackerOne, Cobalt, Synact, and there are so many. This is most important thing I would say, OWASP top 10, which you have to follow. Open Web Application Security Project. So these are top 10 category of vulnerabilities which you can find out from OWASP website. So these categories will help you. So when you are submitting any report, any bug bounty report to any organization, you should specify that, okay, this particular vulnerability lies under this category of OWASP. So that makes an impact as well as that is necessary. Then we have SENS top 25. Keep an eye and have a look to SENS top 25 as well. Learning about Linux and Bash will help you a lot. Networking fundamentals are also required for bug bounty hunting. Now going on to some more important stuff here. Before this, I would like to explain you this. So alpha.beta .evilcorp.com. So evilcorp.com is a top level domain. We have beta.evilcorp.com. So beta is a subdomain and alpha is a subdomain. So this is also possible to create a subdomain. You only can't, subdomain is possible. Most of the users know about it. But I want to highlight that we can also create subdomain for any specific target. So here you can see into the second image, demoupdate.apple.com was vulnerable to something. We have reported the issue to Apple and we have got the acknowledgement from Apple. As you can see, it has written over here, we would like to acknowledge Rohit and Shifa from Hacktify for reporting this issue. So for this submission, we have received $6,000 from Apple. So why I'm focusing on subdomains here? Because I have seen a lot of researchers, they just go and hunt on the main domain. They forget about subdomains. So subdomains are equally important. You should put more of your energy on subdomains, I would say, because so many researchers hunt on main domain, but they forget about this subdomains. So how to find out subdomains of any target, which is what I'm going to teach you right now. If you come across any target, to increase your scope of hunting, So let's say if I want to hunt on Apple, so I know that Apple is apple.com. I can put all the vulnerabilities of my checklist on apple.com. Let's say I don't get anything. So you will, normal researchers who are just beginners, they stop there because all the vulnerabilities from checklist are done. They have tried on apple.com. But to increase the scope, you should also check for all the subdomains of apple.com. So let's say Apple has 10,000 subdomains. So now you're not only limited to apple.com, but you have 10,000 more subdomains which relates to Apple. For Apple, they are equally important. The amount that you are going to receive from Apple goes very similar to the vulnerability that you are going to report on subdomains of Apple. So this way you are increasing your target of hunting, as well as you are getting a lot of things to test. So to find out subdomains for any organization, we have some tools. So you can go to, first I'll show you how to download the tool. So there is one tool which is SubFinder. You can just write SubFinder GitHub. Here is one tool, SubFinder. You can go to releases. According to your laptop configuration, you can download any. I have downloaded Mac OS because I'm on Mac. The tool is already downloaded. There's no such complex installation, so you can do it yourself. I'll just show you that how to use this. So you have to write, once installed, you can write SubFinder. You have to specify the domain name for which you want to find out the subdomains. So let's say I want to find out subdomains for hacktify.in. This is my own website. So I'm trying to find out subdomains for hacktify.in and I'll hit on enter. You can see within 1 second, I am able to get all the subdomains for Hacktify. That means the target for hunting bug bounties is not limited to hacktify.in, but has also given me a lot of new opportunities to test my hands on. So when you get any vulnerability on any of the target of or subdomain of hacktify.in, you're going to be rewarded the very same way. So Apple has said that the infrastructure also includes all the acquisition of Apple. That means all the organizations that are acquired by Apple is going to pay for that as well. So you can just go and check the scope of Apple. And so this you can find out, you can just write the scope for Apple. So you can also hunt on the acquisitions of Apple. So this way it can be done. So I hope you understood that how to find out subdomains. There is one tool which Rohit is going to teach you next, that is Nuclei. Nuclei is the name of the tool. He is going to teach you once I complete my presentation. So Nuclei has one requirement, and the requirement is it only accepts the domain which with HTTP and HTTPS. But as you can see, when I use SubFinder, I am not able to get the protocols, that is HTTP and HTTPS. So for that, what you can do is, you don't have to do it manually. We have one tool to do it. So I'll just show you that tool. I'm going to repeat the previous command that I used. Now I can use this pipe. This pipe will help me to send the output of this particular command to this command. So there is one more tool. I'll show you the tool first. So we have HTTPX is the name of the another tool. So this HTTPX is again developed by Team Project Discovery. So you can just go down. Again, you have to go in releases. You can download the tool according to the laptop configuration. Again, I have downloaded for Mac OS. I'll go on terminal. I'll use this HTTPX. So the output that we are going to get from this command, which is this output, will be sent directly to HTTPX, and I hit enter. So now both the tools will work, and you see that I am getting HTTP, HTTPS, whatever is there. So if it is running on HTTP, it is going to give me that, okay, this particular subdomain runs on HTTP, or this particular subdomain is configured on HTTPS. So this way you will be able to find out, and you can use this output in so many different ways. So for now, we are trying to automate some small stuff, that is to find out the subdomains and to add the proper protocol. I hope you are able to understand this. Okay, so the next thing which I want to show you is SubFinder is not only the tool to find out subdomains. We have more tools as well to do the very same job. We have more tools like SubFinder. We also have some alternatives for HTTPX, that is HTTP probe, and there are more tools available on GitHub as well, which you are free to use. But the main purpose of doing this and using this tool is to find out subdomains. And this tool I generally use to add HTTP or HTTPS in front of the subdomains that I identify. This I do because the next tool that I use, Nuclei, always requires the domain names into this pattern. So I hope I am pretty much clear with the requirement. Why are we doing all this? You don't have to do anything manually. Maybe for Hacktify, you will be able to just copy paste HTTPS or HTTP. But to the targets like Apple, which have more than 10,000 subdomains, you will not be able to copy paste. Or maybe if you are good with SED or AWK, so that can be used at the place of this tool. So there are multiple ways of doing one single task. So I prefer this way. You can do according to your preference. Now I would like to hand over this session to Rohit. He is going to continue and show you that how we can use Nuclei, what is the importance of the tool, and how you can use the tool in your day-to-day life. I'll be here. At the end, we are going to discuss any doubts that you have so far, so we can use, we can solve all those doubts. So I would like to call Rohit to continue with the session.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rohit.
Thank you so much, Shifa, for those wonderful insights that you have given for subdomain enumeration, how subdomain enumeration can be done, what are the passive tools that we can use. For example, you showed SubFinder, and after we have identified subdomains via SubFinder, how can we identify what is the particular subdomain running on? I mean the protocol. Is it running on port 80 or port 443? So based on that, we fingerprint HTTP or HTTPS. So great. Now, once we have achieved this, what are we going to do next? So let's understand that. Is my screen visible? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to search for Nuclei. Nuclei is a really, really good tool. Now, what's so special about this tool? So it is basically a scanner which works on templates. So we are going to provide templates to this specific tool. Based on the template, it is going to perform an action and we are going to get a result out of it. Now, why is this tool given so much importance? Because there are high chances of remediating or removing false positives from our output. Why? there are very high chances that we will not get false positives into this tool, because we are ourselves matching the specific condition that we want from any response. Okay, so let us see how does this actually work. Let's break down the specific tool into small piece to understand what actually it does. So all of you must be aware about grep. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a file. So I've created a file over here called as rahul.txt. Okay, I'm going to read this file, and you can see there are multiple subdomains for a specific target, as can be seen over here. Okay, now there are multiple subdomains as can be seen. I have identified the subdomains using subfinder tool. I have not done anything else. Okay, now if I want to specifically search for a string out of this subdomains, so let's say I want a subdomain that is related to mail, suppose. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to do grep. With the help of grep, we are able to grep it out of the list of subdomains. We can see there are in total 6 subdomains that contains the keyword which is mail. Okay, or alternatively, you can understand this as search. So in any document, we generally press Control F to search for something, right? So we press Control F and we search a keyword. Okay, and once the keyword is matched into the document, we understand, okay, so this is what we wanted and this is our end result. Okay, similar to that, into this document, which is rahul.txt, the file, there are multiple subdomains, as we can see over here. We are matching a specific keyword, that is mail, and we are able to identify 6 such subdomains that match the keyword, that is mail. Cool. This is the same principle that Nuclei follows. Nuclei itself is a tool you can consider, which works as grep. Okay, you can consider this as the command grep, but grep itself cannot do anything. See, when I hit enter, I get an error. It says it gives me a usage menu of grep, which says this is the correct way, this is not the correct way to use grep, which means Nuclei itself will not help me. Okay, Nuclei can be considered in a very, very layman terms as grep. So I want this, my keyword. So for that, we have templates. Okay, these are Nuclei templates. With the help of templates, we are able to basically identify something like mail, which is a keyword here in this case, and get a desired output. Similarly, we are going to use Nuclei templates for specific vulnerabilities, exploits, files, etc. And we can utilize them to identify security vulnerabilities from targeted programs. Now, generally, when we do web application pen testing, there are multiple vulnerabilities that we can identify using various tools like Burp Suite, Nessus, Acunetics, etc. But there are chances that they potentially may increase false positive, because they might be identifying the end result based on a specific signature or a specific uh, output that they expect. Okay, for example, a time delay vulnerability. Okay, so in that case, the time delay could be possibly because of network throttling as well, or network bandwidth as well. Okay, so in that case, burp active scan might flag a issue as possibly, okay, there is an code execution based on response time. Okay, but the response time itself was due to network error or network throttling. So there exists chances that there would be false positive results occurring. We are basically trying to remove all such false positives with the help of Nuclei. All right, so for that, you need to go to Nuclei GitHub. This is an open source project. Go to the releases, and similarly, as Shifa has expressed in the beginning for Subfinder and HTTPX, you can download the compatible version for your operating system in case you are on Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. I'm on Mac OS right now, AMD 64, so I'm going to use this particular version. I have already downloaded it. So let me show you how does it looks like. So I'll hit enter, and you can see this is the version which is 2.5.4. Okay, I think 2.5.7 is the latest version. So we can also update it with the help of U command, and it will automatically start updating itself. Okay. And this is basically a help menu that you can see. This help menu will tell how to use nuclei. The help menu is also available onto the GitHub page as well. Here we can see nuclei is updated successfully to the latest version, which is 2.5.7. Awesome. Now, you do not need to manually go and download nuclei templates into your computer. You could see over here, using nuclei engine, the latest version, and using nuclei templates, the latest version, it automatically fetches all the templates for you. Now let's understand a quick template against a target. Okay, so let us try to see this target, which is testphp.vulnerweb.com. This is an intentionally vulnerable target environment. Okay, so we are onto this specific target and we want to see what vulnerability exists onto this specific target. So there are multiple ways of using this tool. So I really like to use it this way, simply piping the output to nuclei. So you can see echo and the target that I want to do a scan on. So I'll hit enter. You can see echo will basically print the output. Awesome. So I want to print this output to nuclei. And as I said, nuclei itself will not do anything. It requires template. So I hit enter. It will not do anything. Okay. It requires template. Okay. So in the latest version of nuclei, it automatically takes and clusters all the templates by default here. Okay. But in case you want to specifically check for a single template, now it is using 2672 all the templates, 2672 templates for scanning. If you want any specific, then you need to give that by specifying -t flag. -t stands for template and any specific template that you want. Okay, let me just close this scan and you can see nuclei has identified 4 such issues. This is the first one, this is the second one, third one, and fourth one. So let's see the first one, which is Nginx version. Here we can see that nuclei identified this is an informational issue. Hence we can see here info. If it was a critical issue, we could have seen here critical. Similarly, medium, low, high, and informational. Okay, so information vulnerability is basically server banner disclosure here in this case. Okay, so it is basically trying to identify what is the server version which is running over here, and it has identified the server version for us as well, as can be seen, which is Nginx 1.19.0. Okay, which is through this specific template. Now, as I said, you can specifically use templates if you want. So for that, you can specify -t flag, and the path of the templates where you have shared or where you have downloaded or saved the templates. And this is the part of the template. I'll hit tab and you can see there are multiple templates for fuzzing, there are templates for identifying misconfigurations, there are template for identifying default logins, there are templates for identifying CVEs, vulnerabilities, etc. Okay, so for now, let us use one such to identify. So let's go on misconfigurations. Okay, so once I go and type misconfigurations, it will show me what is inside those templates. Okay, so it is saying that there are multiple templates inside this. Okay, and we can see over here there are multiple templates which ends with .yaml format, as can be seen over here. So YAML format is the format that nuclei supports. Okay, remember this. If you want to write your own template and supply it to nuclei, nuclei will only support YAML format, and it's very simple to write as well. Okay, and here we can see there is a specific template called as nginx status.yml. Let's run this and let's see if we get any output for this. Okay, so here it says no results found because it might not have matched anything here in this case. Okay, now let us try to run other templates once again. Let's run all of those templates and let's see some more results, and I'll show you how it is identifying a specific version and it is showing us the result. Okay, let's go back to nuclei templates as well, and let's go in one of such template, and let me explain you one of them, which is very simple one. Okay, let's go in technologies and let's go in Nginx. And here you can see Nginx version. Okay, so this is basically a template which is running here. I'll zoom this a little bit more. If you see over here, this is a YML format template. This is the ID block. ID block basically represents what the template is, the ID of the template. This is the informational block. Okay, this shows the name of the template, who has written this template, the author, the description, what does this template do, the severity is informational, tags is technology, and Nginx. The most important part starts over here, which is the request block. Here we can see the request is being sent, a get HTTP method is being sent onto that base URL. What is our base URL over here? Just clear this. What is our base URL over here? This is our base URL. So onto this specific base URL, a HTTP get request is being sent. And here, this is a matches condition, which is basically matching into the response. Okay, so this template is basically trying to match a regex, which is Nginx plus, into the response of this endpoint. And if it identifies Nginx plus, it basically tries to match a status code of 200 as well. Obviously, if the page will load, then only we'll get a status code of 200. It also tries to extract the part of the header where Nginx plus is being written. Okay, so let's see this. Let's go over there. Let's try to go into the page source and let's try to see if we can also get Nginx. Okay, technologies, Nginx, next version .yml -debug. Let's debug this template and let's see what is the output that we get. Okay, so here you can see the HTTP request and the HTTP response. So here you can see the command that I ran onto this target with this specific template. With this specific template that was to identify the version of the web server that is running. Okay, debug means I want to see what actually is happening in the background. You can see a get request is being sent. According to our template, a get request was supposed to be sent. Awesome. We can see the request is being sent to this specific target. This was the request. As you can see, HTTP request. Now we will see HTTP response. We can see a 200. Okay, that's correct. Now, this is the output of the response that has come from the server. And from here, there are specific strings that are being matched, from where it has been extracted this output, which is Nginx version 1.19.0. Okay, so we can also do, it is not matching over here, but if I try to send a request and try to check a response, then it would match this specific version and it will show me and confirm that yes, this target is running Nginx version 1.19.0. Okay, so this is one of such very, very simple example through which we can confirm that, okay, Nuclei works in this manner. It sends a request and in the response, it basically tries to match something. And if it matches it, then it says, okay, this is vulnerable. Okay, let's go back to Nuclei templates. You guys can also contribute into Nuclei templates. So we have also contributed to Nuclei templates. So let me show you the templates that we have written. So I'll search for my name. And here you can see different templates. For example, Moodle XSS, Concrete XSS, and there are other such templates as well. Let's understand one more template quickly. Let's understand this one. Moodle XSS. So Moodle itself is a CMS which is used in different websites. So if any such website is using Moodle framework, then a GET request should be sent to that particular URL, for example, example.com. And this endpoint will also be sent. And here you can see the vulnerable parameter is redirect URI. And this is the payload that will be sent. There is JavaScript alert, a random string. Here I can put 1 or Rohit, anything. And in the response, which is the matcher condition, I will try to grep or find the same random string. If I'm hard coding Rohit over here, I'll try to identify Rohit over here. Rand string basically means that nuclei will automatically add a random string over here, and it will try to identify the same random string into the response. I generally do not want to put my name into the logs of different target servers. Hence, I'm using random string over here. Okay, so it is matching words. What it is matching two words. First is the random string, and second is JavaScript alert, which is the another part of my payload of the XSS. So the matches condition is and, which basically means that first this should be matched in the body. Second, status should also be matched. Status should be 200 okay. Obviously, if I'm getting a valid response, then it should be 200 okay. And the third and the last thing is I'm matching that the header should be text HTML. Obviously, it should be text HTML, then and only then this part of my payload is going to get executed. Okay, so it is also matching the response type is text HTML in the header. Okay, so this is how we write a simple template of nuclei, and this is how we scan it, and this is how we debug it actually, to understand what actually is happening in the background, so that you can understand more. And you can also write your own templates. This is the only easiest format to write it. You just need to put the request, and you need to try to match the specific string from the response, okay, or any condition that you want to. So if the condition gets fulfilled, we can confirm that the target is vulnerable. Okay, I hope everyone understood. This is it. I'll stop sharing. It's done from my side. I believe if there are any questions, we are ready to take up questions.
Audience, now it's your time to clarify any doubts you may have come across from our speakers. Please feel free to drop them into the chat.
මේ අයිතිකාරයාට මාස් එක හදපු තුන් දෙනානේ අයිතිකාරයෝ.
Thank you, Amit, for your feedback. I think there are no questions. Everyone is so smart. Everyone is able to understand everything. That's great. Yes. So, Souvik, yes, we can create our own nuclei templates. Definitely, it's a very good technique to create your own nuclei templates, and you can use that template to mass scan multiple targets. Okay, so you can give thousands of subdomains, which likely to be running onto the same CMS or framework or technology stack for any template that you have created, and then you can start scanning all those targets with your private nuclei template. It helps a lot in automation. If I got administrator's username of a website, will it be a bug to report? Actually, Shubham, no. Why? Because there is no security impact over here by just getting the administrator's username. If you're also able to get a password, and if you try to log in and that authentication attempt is valid, and if you're able to log in, then yes, there's a security impact. Okay. If you're able to get anyone's email address and not his password, does that make a security impact? No. Okay. So you have to think like that, any activity that you perform should create a security impact. And if there's an impact that has been created, then yes, definitely it's a valid bug to report. Can we use nuclei to search vulnerabilities in system applications? So the answer is yes. Nuclei not only works on HTTP requests, it also works on scanning files on systems. Maybe if you have a source code of any application, it can also scan for sensitive tokens, API keys, and secret tokens, etc. So yes, nuclei can run on files as well. You can have a more look. You can read the documentation. It's really simple that is being given onto their website. Can we able to get all kind of vulnerability using the nuclei from the website? So you can definitely go ahead and check the nuclei template documentation. There are around 2,500 plus templates. Check out what are the templates written over there, and if it suits your requirements, then definitely you can go ahead and use nuclei, or maybe you can use make your custom scripts or use any other tool if required. If I am to start hunting for bugs, where do I start from? It's a good question. Any new person, any new beginner who want to start bug bounty hunting, definitely I would recommend go learn OWASP top 10 first. It is very important, okay? And only pick few vulnerabilities in beginning to understand. Just do not try to master all of them in the very beginning. You might get confused, okay? Or you might get disheartened or sad that you're not able to identify all of them on any specific targets, okay? What I would suggest and recommend is pick any 3 vulnerabilities in the beginning, try to understand them, try to replicate it on lab environment. There is a lot of lab environment given by OWASP. Just download that. BWAP is there, DVWA, WebCode. Just check for OWASP broken web applications and you will be able to get vulnerable environment. Use that, practice on it, and then you can start hunting on live environment. If you want to learn about nuclei, their website has an awesome documentation. You can learn about it more. If you want to learn about OWASP, go on OWASP official website. There they have written everything in detail where you can understand about how the vulnerabilities work, what is the remediation, how to fix it, uh, what are the payloads, etc. I think someone was raising hand. Someone I wanted to ask a question. Feel free to ask the question. I'm available, guys. Event was nice. Thank you so much. We hope that you learned something out of this. Definitely that you can implement in your day-to-day methodology if you're going to do bug bounty hunting or penetration testing. Any live trainings like this? So we do take live trainings. You can check out our website regarding that. Okay. Sir, any insights on Log4j? Yes. The entire internet was on fire just few time ago because of Log4j. So what I'll just sum up in very short. Log4j is basically a Java logging library, which was used in different software components. So all those softwares or web applications was using Log4j library for logging in. The requests and response became automatically vulnerable because of this vulnerability. Now, any arbitrary request that is coming from an attacker, if it is coming with a specific payload, the payload everyone knows already is it is on the internet. Okay, with that specific payload, it triggers basically a remote code execution condition onto the target server, due to which an attacker would be able to get privileges to the server, and also he can execute commands onto the server. Okay, this is very brief overview about this vulnerability. There are already exploits available. Definitely go ahead and try that. Nuclei has also released Log4j scanner. Try that on multiple websites. Definitely it would be helpful in your bug bounties. If you want to understand more, try to set up your own infrastructure lab. There are lab environment available for Log4j vulnerable setup. Put that in a Docker and then you can test that as well. Any insights on Bubsuite certification? Is it good for beginners to start with? Bubsuite itself is an awesome tool, industry-wide tool. A lot of people uses Bubsuite. Me myself use Bub a lot in my day-to-day pen testing or bug bounty hunting. Regarding the certification, so I honestly have not seen the content of it or how it is, as the certification is pretty new now. Okay, so I would suggest definitely you do a research and understand if it suits your requirements, and if you think definitely you should go ahead with it. Okay, I believe there are no more questions.
With that, we have come to the end of today's proceedings. Now I invite the IT manager of Educon International, Mr. Anupa Ranasinghe, to give away the word of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Anupa Ranasinghe.
Well, thank you. So I would like to greet good evening to everyone. Hope you all enjoyed today's session. So on behalf of Educon International, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to our two guest speakers today, Ms. Shifa Saikalwala and Mr. Rohit Gautam, the founders of Hacktify Cybersecurity, for conducting a fruitful event regarding cybersecurity for us. I would also like to thank the organizing committee of Educon International for putting together this interesting session this evening. And not to forget our wonderful audience today. Thank you for being a part for this session. We hope that you found it useful here today. So once again, thank you for joining everyone. Good night and stay safe.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, the organizing team, and everyone at Edvicon International. Thank you for organizing this. It was amazing experience connecting to all of these participants. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone gained more knowledge about cybersecurity. With that, let's conclude today's proceedings. Thank you very much for your valuable participation. We hope that everyone will be with us for our future webinars as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please be kind enough to fill the feedback form and give us your sincere comments regarding this webinar, and this feedback form will be used to issue your certificates. The link for that is in the chat. The feedback form will be open for only 30 minutes. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms and keep in touch with our updates about our next sessions. Now, it's time for the quiz. The quiz will be open for only 10 minutes. Since the quiz is open for only 10 minutes, please do the quiz before filling the feedback form. Please find the link for the quiz in the chat. Till we meet with another informative session, stay safe and good night.